We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Taste with you well, you've gone sour. You want the world plus everything, but it won't work an hour. And now your questions are guilt creeping, and you go and buy her flowers. You throw away the dreams we had, boy. I won't allow it. I said we're gonna fall out. Let's see you get out. I think we're gonna fall out. Just shut your mouth.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters, the professionals, with me, Stu and Mitch. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening, Steve. How are you?
All good, yeah, it's quite fresh considering the amount of alcohol that I drank yesterday, pre-match and after-match. But yes, I am fighting fit, been to the gym, done my Sunday lunch in, so I'm okay, and watched lots of football, and even had time to do the Northeast Football podcast with Rye and Ted. So all good here, and I'm sure all good with everybody out there. First game of the season, Newcastle United off to a winning start of the season, and at the moment as well, Chelsea playing Manchester City. That man Haaland, the difference, a 1-0 advantage for Man City at the moment at Stamford Bridge with about 32 minutes played. But lots to get our teeth into from yesterday's game. And I've seen Marc Guehi's question already, and I said to the lad before I came on, I do not want to be talking about directors dancing. I definitely don't want to talk about it, Marc, so I will answer that question in private. I don't want to start going down that route, I'm afraid, talking about things which, for me, are irrelevant. So we'll move on from that particular subject, if you don't mind, Marc. Let's talk about the match. Newcastle United won, and one goal was the difference between them and Southampton. A sending off, of course, which dominates the headlines, and all round, a defensive performance, a backs against the wall performance. But this is probably the thing that's dominating the headlines. And Fabian Schar reacting to Brayton Diaz and his histrionics, reacting to pushing the back, Mitch. But it's the biggest talking point of the game, other than Joe Linton's goal, I guess. And lots of people pre-show asking the question, did Schar let his emotions get the better of him? Says Gary. Obviously, he's going to be pumped for the first game, but also he knows we're looking at replacing him with Marc Guehi. Do you think he tried to make a point or a statement that he's still the man in that position? And by doing that, he lost a little bit of control in that moment. He says, great show, and never miss an episode from the truck due south. Thank you, Gary. And Ian Hull said the same question for the three of you to discuss about yesterday. No doubt you will be. If the ref didn't think Diaz was misleading anyone, why didn't he ask for a concussion substitute for him with it being a head injury? I mean, it was a bad headbutt, wasn't it? So lots of people asking questions about this, and rightly so. What was your overall thoughts on the game and that incident, Mitch?
I'm just amazed at hearing what you've done today, because I've spent most of the day hanging out my arse, to be fair.
We had a good turnout, didn't you? Yeah, give the shout out to the bar, especially
Julie and everybody else on the committee for organising and getting the Dubai Mags into a new home. We had over 240 there yesterday.
Wow. And
there's loads still on holiday that I know of. We could have been over 250 easy. Great turnout. The atmosphere was bouncing. I think everybody's happy with the new layout, and great to see more families there. Great to see more new faces here. And Andy and Kath come over from Alien. they stayed in the hotel or get a preferred rate at the hotel, which is really good. And they were bumping into Saudis in the lift who'd come over to watch Newcastle in Dubai for the opening game.
Amazing.
Come to watch our team. So it just shows you what's happening over here, and the buzz is huge. And at least we got 3 points and a load of passion out of it. Talk about the game in wider first, and then come to that incident. We showed something yesterday that at times was missing last season, but we had it in spades the season before. That that togetherness, they're willing to fight for each other, they're willing to push harder and organise, and so that was great to see. For all the possession that Southampton had, I think Pope really only had one save to make of seriousness. And after that, you know, they can point at all the XGs they like. The only stat that matters is what's the final score and what will the record book say at the end of the season. And it's a game that would be forgotten at the end of the season if it wasn't for that incident. Now, for me, I think the situation with Diaz and Schar is something that's fundamentally wrong with the rule makers in football. They want football to have a certain sanitised look to it. And so referees are given very little room to apply common sense. For me, the reality is, if you look at the incident from a couple of seconds before, there's a foul made in the middle of the park, the ball goes through to Schar, Diaz lays one on Schar from behind with a forearm, Schar gets up and reacts. But if you take the quote-unquote headbutt in the context on its own, Schar has viewed the aggressor for leaning in with his head. Yet it's quite clear in the whole incident who the aggressor was in the first place, and it wasn't Schar. Schar is daft for giving the referee a decision to make like that, because in modern football, it's rarely going to go the way we would have liked it to. Reality, if common sense would apply, I would have stood them both face to face, told them they were both stupid arses, and give them a yellow card each and said, get on with the game. I think that would be probably a fair, reasonable way to deal with an incident like that. Sort yourselves out. Don't be so bloody stupid to pay you. Let's play the game. But because of the way the rules are written, that can't happen. And we'll have robotic referees who go by the letter of the law and the letter of the law only, like Pawson, which you're never going to see a different result from that. The minute Schar leaned in, it's an absolute joke. Anybody with a pair of eyes can see that that's not a headbutt. You know, if it is, it's not a headbutt to be proud of. And I actually wish he'd just smashed his fucking nose across his face. I'd be happier with that and take a red for that than that being called a headbutt. I'm sorry, like. And I think Brereton Diaz now has put a little target on his back for the entire Premier League for the rest of the season. There'll be other professionals who will look at that and think he's a little snidey little so-and-so. Somebody will tag him this season, big time. You watch. And then he will have something to cry about. I don't know who the hell he thinks he is. He's journeyman, I think, is the word he's for him that's becoming. He seemed to not be able to settle in. It was he left Blackburn, went to Villarreal, and then went to Sheffield United, got relegated with them, and he's now at Southampton. I mean, gosh, what a precious little soul he is. But No, like they're saying in the strategies, right? There is no room for common sense in refereeing these days, and that's part of the problem. It's all part of the problem with VAR. VAR have got no leeway to change that decision because of the way the rules are written and because of the way the lawmakers and people in influence in the game want the game to look. And so you can, we can ask for it to be appealed as much as like it won't be appealed.
Yeah, I can't see.
No, I can't see it. So, but what it did bring out of work and epitomised the Longstaff's challenge on Diaz, and Diaz knew, and his little, and he tried to laugh it off, but that was the laugh for someone who thought, "Fuck, what have I done here?" And I know there was a little bit of shenanigans in the tunnel at half time, but I think going forward, we ground out the game. We didn't look. Some of the players didn't look on top form. Bruno, by his admission, was short because of being away at the Copa America. Gordon didn't really shine. I don't think Isak looked as good as he has done in pre-season. Didn't look as. But then again, when you're down to 10 men and the possessions all over the place, it's difficult for him to influence the game.
Steve Hasty was saying to me about Gordon when we were out last night, and I was like, well, I didn't buy into that, because you just need to look at the stats. Go and look at the stats now on the Sky app. It tells you all you need to know. What possession levels and etc. You can't do anything if you haven't got the ball. And quite clearly, Eddie and Tyndall got that tactic spot on. They literally went in at half time. I mean, they had to reorganise before the break, but then at half time they probably re-emphasised. And I think substitutions as well were the right substitutions. I think Howe and Tyndall got it right yesterday, massively.
I think they did, and I think also a word for Hall, who picked up the booking that, in my opinion, wasn't a booking early on, and then when we were down to 10 men, they tried to pile pressure on him, and I thought he come through it really, really well. And then when Kelly came on to replace him, he looked steady as you like. So I think there's positives to take out of that, just not the positives we would like. Yeah. It wasn't a stunning 4-0 opener start to the season. It wasn't some of the things we would have liked it to have been. But by God, they played for each other. And Joe Linton showed what he can do when he's properly fit. Shows how he must have played most of last season half fit. He looked like a different lad yesterday. And I think really... I think there's a lot of positives we can take out of that, and look forward to, again, the Redwood books, let's just say 3 points, 1-0 Newcastle. And I think down the line, for me, that's where it'll stay, and the incident will be forgotten and come up maybe halfway through. Oh, do you remember that shithouse? But I think
I'll repeat what I said yesterday. That will be a performance we will look back on in May and go, that was the difference between getting European football and not getting European football, because we won 1-0 in a game against a team which, up until the sending off, Newcastle weren't bossing that game, not by a long shot. Southampton were in control at times of the game. They played really well, and that's Chelsea 1-1, is it? Offside. It's ultimately become a game when we were expecting a big win against a newly promoted team, and it didn't turn out that way. And you've got to give credit to Southampton for that. But from my perspective, I felt the star players, because of the way that we had to play, the formation we had to play, were Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, and Joe Linton, and the rest of them paled into, in insignificance in a lot of ways. Those lads did the job to get us through, but everybody grafted. You just said it was a team performance. I've seen people pick Lewis Hall out and say that he was the weak link and he's not a left back, etc. He gave the ball away a lot yesterday, and I think he will be the first to hold his hands up and say he didn't have a great game yesterday by his own standards. But that's one game. He's played
I think a lesser player would have got himself sent off yesterday.
100%. He's played most games as well in pre-season in midfield. So he's been asked to go in and play left back. And you know, I think he had an okay game. I would say it was probably a 6 out of 10. But I thought his goal line clearance was every bit as important as Joe Linton's goal. And that's that for me. I think he deserves his start next week against Bournemouth. I think the only change next week will be crafting for Fabian Schar. I don't think we'll have a new centre half by next week, and if we do, I don't think we will chuck him in at the deep end. So I think Kraft will be in alongside Burn. I think he still go with Lewis Hall at left back. I think it'll be an unchanged team apart from that. We're 1-1-0 at the end of the day, but a lot depends what happens on the training ground. What happens, Stu? Your thoughts on the game overall, and of course that big talking point.
Well, my first thoughts is used to repair a Silver's buggers, talking about how you had the day off and how Mitch is hanging out with his arse. I've been at work today and I drank just as much as, if not more than, the pair he is. So I've been in a bit of a daze today going through it. You would have got that from the slurring WhatsApp messages that were getting sent back and forth last night. But I love the first game of the season. I really do, and I always get back for them. But this year I've used holders for the Euros. So I couldn't do that, but I'm with Mitchell when he's on about the headbutt incident. For me, you might as well get hung for a sheep than is for a lamb, and you should have just pummeled him, went straight through him. But it's all this. It's what modern football is like now. It's all pretentious and standoff and all image. You either do it or you don't. And for me, Schar was irresponsible. He was unprofessional, but also it was understandable. They know the rules, so we can say, "Oh, he hardly touched him. The guy got shot by a sniper, etc." He intimated to headbutt him, and as soon as there's contact, that's a red card, and they know that. And for me, Schar let his teammates down, and I've been a great advocate of Schar over the last couple of years, especially last season. I thought he was one of our standout players, but he let his teammates down. But don't get us wrong, before that incident happened, we weren't at the races. There was a huge lack of cohesion with the players, and I don't know, and I hope to think it wasn't complacency, where these are ranked the lowest team in the league because they come up through the playoffs, and where the mighty Newcastle United now, we still got to go and earn the right to win the game, and you've got to win your little battles. And I don't get this attack and fall, as you mentioned, Steve. His goal line clearance saved us 2 points at least, because if you look at the stats as you touched about there, we didn't have a shot, not even a shot off target in the second half. So even with 10 men, we shouldn't be backs to the wall against the Southampton team. But that's football, and it's not always how you expect it to pan out. And those 3 points will prove critical, because you look at the league table and we're sitting pretty nicely. And that's the way I look at it. But what happened with the red card, it seemed to galvanise the team, because it certainly did the crowd, because that lifted the crowd, and it's the siege mentality that we're fantastic at as a club, as a set of supporters, us against everyone else, and with especially a case of injustice. And I understand people are saying Diaz should have been booked for the shove, because physically that was harder than the headbutt, but then he should also have been booked for the confrontation. So there was a 2 yellow card instance for him, and he was a marked man. And if you noticed, he wasn't going anywhere near the centre of our left. He was keeping away from Joe Linton, that's for sure, because I think he would have just levelled him. And there was a time in the first half where it looked like he was going to lose his rag. But if we can all say Hall didn't have his best game, but I think there was 9 players that didn't have the best game for Newcastle. I think only Pope and Joe Linton can say they did everything that was expected of them and more. So let's not single players out. They are a team, and they'll win, lose, or draw as a team. And for me, yes, we all expected a 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 route. The most important thing is we got 3 points on the board, and the fact that they were able to adapt, and it showed the team spirits that when Murphy came off, that he was willing to come off, and it's someone like that is the sort of player that you need in the squad, and it shows we've all got, well, not we, they've all got their part to play. And talking about Joe Linton as a positive, not just his goal, but the fact that his power, his strength, he's willing to run with the ball. And for anyone who's played football, if you've got the ball at your feet and someone's running at you, you get rid of it quicker. And if it's someone like Joe Linton, you get rid of it even quicker than that. But there was something when we were watching the game yesterday, something Mrs. P said. She went, Isaac is so smart because he was gifted that. And in the blink of an eye, he had to do all these calculations. Do I try and run with it? Do I pass it? Do I control it? Do I shoot? And instantly, he was so relaxed. He knew exactly what to do. And it was a straight pass to Joe Linton, who was very composed and notably scored with his left foot. Because we know he's right foot. He scored with his left foot, and that gave us the impetus to get us through to the half time where Eddie Howe can then redress what needs to be done. I still think we sat too far back, but it's understandable why we did. Because if we'd conceded one, it could have changed the game. But the players that have been mentioned, a lot of them weren't at the top of the game, but they'll be the first to realise that. And thankfully, we've got the 3 points, and there's a chance to add another 3 points in 7 days' time, where I'll be with Mitch, and I'll make up for those 10 people that run hold of Mitch when I'm there.
Yeah,
I think Stu's got a great point there, about the finish. That wasn't a tap in.
No, it wasn't.
And he had to make sure he put it away, and I thought he put it away really confidently and really well, and deserves all the plaudits. And for me, man of the match performance.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, for me, Byrne and Longstaff play the games of their lives. Bearing in mind as well the crap that Longstaff gets chucked at him. I thought he was great yesterday.
But Steve was still got 3 points from
that lovely challenge on Brayton Diaz, putting Brayton Diaz up in the air just after the sending off as well, just to make his point, was just typical of Longstaff's kind of. And I'll big him up. I thought Bruno had the responsibility of the armband yesterday. And I thought he had nobody has really mentioned Bruno, with the exception of the fact that he was captain. But he was steady away yesterday as well. So yeah, it was just a good team performance. And like the one thing that we did last season was we leaked goals. We scored a hell of a lot, but we leaked goals. And again, that was almost like a return to the season that we stayed up.
Yes.
When we played with our backs to the walls, that was like a proper return to the old style Eddie, wasn't it, Mitch?
That's certainly what I was in. That we saw something yesterday that at times last season was definitely missing, and yet the season before and the season before that was there in spades, and that was that togetherness, the willing to fight, the willing to dig a result out. They're willing to throw your body at a football and defend them away. And I think that really gives me a lot of positive thoughts about how, well, when that clicks, it's just going to get better. And that the core...
Not win every game 5-0, Mitch. So it's good to see the players, as you said last season, there was games that was missing, but they were prepared to do the extra yards. They were prepared to work for each other and actually perform like a team, with the forwards coming back and making the covering tackles, blocking the spaces that needed to be done. And for me, I mean, it wasn't pretty to watch, especially from a Newcastle persuasion. But that sort of performance will probably please Eddie Howe more than if we just rolled them off the park 4 or 5-0.
Yeah. Yeah, and there wasn't a concussion and situation.
No, not that I saw. Television coverage over here, there was no assessment, and he's quite right in terms of if he really thought that was a bad enough head injury, there should have been a concussive assessment. But again, it just shows this is a problem with the officials.
Yeah,
he knows fine well that wasn't a headbutt.
It's a large foot, wasn't it?
But by the rules and the way it's written, and the way that people who want the game officiated and want the game to look a certain sanitised way, that's what he does. But then in the throes of that, actually forgets, oh God, I should have asked for that and I should have done that.
You know, Mitch, when Longstaff went in for that challenge and that really got the crowd going, Diaz got up and like Longstaff was in his face. Diaz pushed him away. Now, if Longstaff had been like him, he could have fell to the ground because there was contact.
Yes.
And then that would have been his second yellow. Sometimes we are a bit too honest. If that's what you want to do.
I really, really think somebody will do Diaz this season on the back of that.
But it's one of them situations which will run and run. I did find it funny.
Alan, backtrack.
He's back
in the money they've sold, not what was spent.
He's back again. Yeah.
It's on there. Go back and watch the recordings. It's all there. What I said. We'll speak again in September.
It's funny as well, really, with the Diaz situation, that a lot of people on the ground got Diaz mixed up with another Southampton player. They were booing the wrong player in the second half every time he got the ball. So
is that what was going on? I couldn't work that out.
Yeah, every time the left side, the player on the left hand side, I forget his name. He basically, every time he got the ball, they were booing him, and it was the wrong person. So
I picked up on. A couple were picked up on that. No, I'm like, why are they booing him? What's he done?
They thought it was just because he had long hair. They thought it was Diaz. Unbelievable. Tyne, you're right there. I saw that incident as well. The Wolves player had the chokehold on the Arsenal player. It was called putting him down on the ground by one of the commentators on Match of the Day. Just another thing that you scratch your head at, unfortunately. And Pawson's performance is getting absolutely hammered in the chat.
Well, again, there's another thing we repeatedly talk about and it isn't getting any better. Lack of consistency.
Yeah.
Different referees handling similar situations in different ways, and interpreting things a different way, and that's really frustrating and something that needs to improve.
Yeah. Benny now talking in riddles tonight instead of texting in riddles. Question for the panel: does anyone think of a Great Dane dog when thinking of the Chelsea player linked with Newcastle? I can't spell him. You'll have to give it another lead on that, Spenny, I'm afraid. And Mark Byers is trying his best to get me to talk about something I don't want to talk about, but you're going to have to try harder than that, mate. And let's not forget Steve Hasty. You're right. He says that top draw save by Nick Pope in the second half. It was destined for the top corner before he tipped it out for a corner. And I genuinely thought that Nick Pope had a great game as well. Yeah, it's there is a big difference. I guess the big talking point on the bench was who was going to be the second choice keeper. We only had one keeper on the bench as well, and it was the broadcast. So that's that argument settled. Mitch, as to the pecking order of goalkeepers for now.
I think that's going to stay fluid. I think we'll probably talk about this later on. It's quite clear. I think Paul Mitchell is going to be exceptionally busy over the next few weeks. And I think decisions on goalkeepers, I can't see we're carrying 5 goalkeepers into the season proper.
No, and I think the fact that, I think there'll be busy times ahead in the next 12 days in and outs. I still think there'll be plenty of that. Let's talk about the story that everybody in the chat wants to talk about, and that's Guehi, of course. Lots of questions come in about him. Big thanks to Roadblock, by the way, for the $5. He says, not bad refereeing, it's straight out cartel corruption, starting from day one. Good job, we used to it. They must be really scared of us. Thanks for the donation, mate. That'll go into the Malverno fund. The Guehi transfer. Lots of people just really want to know if we know what is going on. Tuna came in early, says the Guehi deal off. Can't believe we're still dealing with this disrespectful parish, who I have to add backs up Mitch's and Neil's comments on Friday on how Crystal Palace always go to the press. And just trying to find another one on that. There, Lee Jones. Would you continue with the Guehi deal, knowing that we have around 70 million to spend? Would you rather walk away and spend less on a centre back and more on a right winger? It's starting to leave a bit of a nasty taste in the mouth, this particular one. And watched him today. If he knocked 5 million on, if 5 million went on his transfer fee yesterday because Fabian Schar got a 3-match suspension, Guehi did his best to take 5 million off in the game of the damage. Yeah,
and certainly what I've seen of it wasn't terribly. He looked like another one with a bit of a hangover from the Euros, to me. Like, and having all this public speculation can't be good for the player either. Really can't be good for the player. Going forward, for me, I think Parish has cocked this one up. I think he's really pushed it as far as he could, and then found he's pushed it over the edge. And I can't understand. I think Lucas just had his point today about this whole concept. There's a bid, and then there's another bid, then there's another bid. It doesn't really work like that. There's constant negotiation. But this is felt from the minute the second bid was being reported in the press. It was performative on the behalf of Crystal Palace, and where all the chat to the press was coming from. And then there was an interview with Sky. I mean, really? I find it a fascinating way of going on, because I think there's other clubs will be looking at Palace and thinking, I don't know if I can be arsed with that. If we're going to try and go after one of their players, so maybe we'll think twice about dealing with them in the future. And so, yeah, it's for me, it's walk away time, really. But that then heaps a hell of a lot more pressure on Mitchell, because I think there has to be something delivered this window to give Eddie a lift, to give the squad a lift, and to calm everybody down. I believe he still will deliver, and I have my gut is saying that Eddie gave it away when he talked about players becoming available and opportunities coming their way late in the window. And I think Mitchell will be a very busy lad in the last 48 hours of that window. But I'm still confident that we'll spend money and improve the squad. We've still, as I've said here quite clearly, and on the amigos, let's talk about it when the window's closed. Because that's the only real time you can properly assess any transfer window. Yes, we can get jumpy about players. Teams haven't done a lot of business and got a lot of players in early, and well done for them. But we can't control that. That's not our business. And second, that's my mate John, who's an Everton fan, who repeatedly tells me they spent £500 million to get exceptionally worse. And they didn't start the season terribly well this season again, did they? So, you know, I think for me, it's keep it hard until the window's closed. And with regards Guehi, his performance today must have knocked a little bit off the price for me, because that didn't look like a generational player to me in any way, shape or form.
What's your views on the whole Guehi deal then, Stu? I mean, you know, do you think it's still ongoing? Do you think there's a deal still on the table? Do you think, you know, that we should just walk away? How are you feeling about it now?
I think we should just put a bid in for 100 million and take him, and that'll shut everyone up about how much we're going to spend. That's just a joke, by the way. He's not worth 100 million. But I just laugh with Alex. I know it's just a bit banter back and forth, but for me, it epitomises a lot of the fan base. Like, where's the support? Now, for me, this Paul Mitchell, he has a terrific track record, and he's just come into his job, and he has to hit the ground running. And this is his first attempt at a proper negotiation on behalf of Newcastle United. And it is a small pool, and I don't think you'd be pursuing Guehi if it wasn't someone that Howe thought would improve the team. So he's now he's now in a no-win situation, especially with Parish going public. Does he pay the extra money and look like he's folded to make him look weak? Or does he take the high ground and walk away and then get someone who wasn't first choice? Now, we hear different reports that the price was this, then it's changed to that, then it's changed to that, then it's changed to that. Nobody knows. The most commonly reported price is 65 million. The last official report that we got, we offered 55 plus 5. and then we went in with an approved bid. But again, we have to be respectful. If it was Liverpool bidding for Gordon or Manchester City bidding for Bruno or Isak bidding for Arsenal, we'd be telling our chairman to turn it down and don't even entertain it and let them keep coming back for more. So we can't be too parochial. We have to look at it from both sides of the coin. He is their player. But saying all that, Parish in his interview for Sky Sports, for me, it was a clear indication that Guehi said he'd like to leave. So now, the clever thing for Newcastle to do would be to walk away and say, right, your player wants to leave. He's got 2 years left in his contract, which means he's told you he wants to leave to a bigger club, a club that's going to give him more money. Because if he's a generational superstar, I'm quite certain his salary every week doesn't quantify that from what Palace are paying him. But if he stays at Palace by the end of this window, come January, his figures are going to be, his value is going to be less. Come next summer, his value will be even less. And so I can understand, and I know what Mitch was saying on the Amigos on Friday night. Parish is like, oh, look at me to the big six, the favoured six. Look at me, this is how I deal with them. And I'm sure there is a bit of that, a bit of the stage and aren't I a clever man, please pat me on the head. But for all his deficiencies, his job's to negotiate the best deal with Crystal Palace. Now, if we have offered 60 and he's asking for 65, the something I mentioned during the week on Twitter, which I've tried to really keep off regarding the transfers, and then Sean Casey was replying to me, and there's an obvious middle ground, 62.5 million. Parish can then walk away saying, look, I got an extra 2.5 million. He can then go to the other owners of the board and say, I got an extra 2.5 million for a player that clearly wants to leave us. We can then say we didn't pay the asking price. So it's a win-win. The player gets the move he wants. We get the player they want. They get a shed load of money. So that's why it's still a negotiation. And I get all this, it's who blinks first or who doesn't. But sometimes we can't cut our nose to spite our face. If he's someone that we really want, then ask them, what is the price you're asking for? And if they've stated 65 million, why they pay it or we don't? Because time is ticking, and for sure there will. It's been identified all summer that the two positions, and both times bids have went into Crystal Palace, one for Eales for 60 million and one for Guehi for 60 million. So adding those two together, that's 120 million. So we know that the funds are there for those two positions. And if we can't get it for Guehi, it gives us a lot of strength going to, let's say, for example, Everton, and saying, right, we'll give you 50 for your Branthwaite. I know they wanted more, but Everton really aren't in a position to negotiate for cash liquidity. They don't have it. And they will be running out of spare cash, as in to be able to pay salaries and everything else through the winter months. So it could give us the advantage of them. And going back to Palace, it's never been mentioned, but I just think, okay, why don't we just say, look, there's your 40 million and we'll give you Miggy, or there's 45 million, we'll give you Miggy. They need a right winger because they sold one. And it'll stop Miggy scoring against them. And we can then value Miggy at whatever they want, so they look like then that they've got the deal that they want. We look like we've got the deal we want. We can then have more disposable income to go and buy another player. There's so much that can be changed, and it doesn't even change daily, this transfer saga. It changes hourly. So 1 minute you're getting told it's definitely happening, and then next minute they're definitely walking away. But what has remained constant is Guehi's open to moving to Newcastle, and that we want him. So it's just a case of, are we willing to overspend? And that's what we are now. We're a big club. If we want the top players that we've identified, sometimes you've got to pay over. You've got to bite the bullet and pay it. But I also get that they don't want to be seen as someone who will fold, and we can be held to ransom. And this then comes back to the negotiating skills of Paul Mitchell. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is another offer with a player involved to try and change the values to make it more winnable for both sides. But personally, I hope we do get him, because yes, he had a bad game yesterday, but we're just talking about 9 Newcastle players that had a bad game yesterday. Doesn't make him a bad player. So,
well, you said 9. I didn't say 9.
I said 9. For me, it was only Pope and Joe Linton that could walk off the pitch and say, I played well. Others can say I put the effort in, but I'm talking about playing well up to the level of their ability. And so that's why I said 9. I'm not saying the bad players. I'm just saying they didn't.
No. I'd say Paul could do that, but that's the beauty of this program. We don't always agree.
Is regarding Guehi. I mean, I was at work, so I didn't see him play, but by all accounts, he's had a bit of a mare. But it happens to the best of them. And is there a hangover from England because of the media pressure that they were going to win the Euros? And Phil Foden didn't start today. You tell me he's not a worthy starter for Man City, but he's not starting today. But Guehi, if I had to hang my hat on it, do I use my head or my heart? My heart would say he'll be a Newcastle player by next week and he'll get another chance playing against Bournemouth, or my head will say that business-wise, Mitchell will have another target, but you'll have to move fast. I think he needs to now not just appease the fans, but he needs to appease his paymasters to show he's capable of doing the job and negotiating to get the players and improve the squad. So I expect a lot of movement in the next couple of days.
Okay, he's doing it. Somebody in the dementia matters. This was Darren Eales yesterday at the Stack, singing and dancing pre-match. Split fans' opinion again. I've seen Paul Chollerton in the chat. Good to see you yesterday, Paul, saying the guy can't do right for doing wrong. He comes out and says things and does things. We've discussed this guy quite a few times on here. At the end of the day, this is just Darren Eales. We've just got to accept this is what he does. He does a little bit of PR, sleeping with the trophies. He, went down to Wembley and had a pint with the fans and got on the microphone. I mean, this is the way Darren Eales does it. So we shouldn't be surprised to see him do it. But, some people don't think it's a good idea that the CEO does this. I've seen some people comparing him to Mike Ashley today. Mike Ashley was never this good a singer and never this good a dancer, and certainly wasn't good at doing things at the football club other than make money for himself. I would say comparisons with Mike Ashley aren't right, but at the same time, it comes down to personal opinion whether you think your CEO should be doing that. Mark's asked the question. I don't want to drag this on too long. Mitch, do you want to see your CEO doing that or not?
Doesn't bother us. Doesn't bother us one little bit. He does him. He does come across to me, though, as somebody who's fantastic at delivering good news and not so good when it's not so good news. Now, whether that's all part of just the way he does things, I don't know. But in terms of how it affects me, it doesn't affect me one little bit. You do you.
Stu?
You know what? So what? And if you want to act like the village idiot, let him get on with it. Who's more at fault? Him for trying to embrace the fans, which we've been critical of past ownerships for not doing so, or do you blame the few hundred fans that sang along with him? But what's the difference? That is sing-song, and it was a good atmosphere. And I'm not saying that I think it's the way a CEO should act, but at the same time, if that's the way he wants to do it, and people are happy with it, then that's the world we live in at the moment, isn't it? Where people get starstruck and think, "Oh, I've seen the CEO, we had it," and a lot of people would have walked away from there thinking, "What a great guy! It was nice he joined in." And it's very easy to be critical from afar. It's harder to praise. Now, I don't think it's praiseworthy what he did, but it doesn't mean he's worthy of criticism. The Stack is a big part of the club's revenue. It's an additional source. And by showing up, I wouldn't have feel do it every week and start karaoke. You don't know. It might be sing along a Daz, it could be a weekly thing. Who knows? But I don't say it's like. It goes back to people just need to be offended over something for the sake of being offended.
Yeah, it's that Mark Guehi.
Yeah, well, Mark likes that. He's still upset about the quip I made about his wife being pregnant, so you'll get over it. Darren Eales wants to turn about the fan zone. Great. Does he have to get the Mikey stand? No. Does he have to sing songs? No. But did the majority of people who were there enjoy it? Yes. So at least there is some form of communication. The more let's say, the more hardened fan base, more hardened or the weathered of the fan base, will look at it as a publicity stunt. Well, of course it was. But is that really the biggest thing to complain about yesterday? We've got 3 points. We're sitting in the top end of the Premier League. And let's say if we lose a game, will Darren Eales do the same? Personally, I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, there you go, Mark.
Did I read somewhere today that the Stack was the second most populated bar in the country or something like that? There was only one bar had bigger attendance in one spot. Either way, it sounds like it's going to be a canny little revenue maker for the club.
Yeah.
I think the first week or so, everyone's going to go and have a look and suss it out, you know, whether it'll maintain. Because I seen pictures yesterday when I was at work, quick glance through Twitter. I think it was the timeline was 10:27 a.m. and it was already full. I know that he went there with his family, and he made sure he got there for midday just to make sure he could get in. And we're in a situation where what we do know, this is why everyone's buying the shirts. The money goes back into the club, and we know the owners will put as much as they can out into the club. So if that's people's choice to drink watered down warm beer for £6 and throw it in the air when there's a goal, that's up to them. The club benefits from it.
Okay, we are halfway through the show. Still 45 minutes to go. If you've got a question, get it in. We'll have the ads back.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners in 2024. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts. You can find them at www.media-arts.co.uk. And don't forget, we are a podcast. You can find us on iTunes or Spotify or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel grow, then hit the like button, the little thumb underneath the video, click share and share to your social media, or join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to take out a one-off payment membership, go to nufcmatters.com and hit membership. And for a £25 fee, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. You can also put a smartphone over the top of this QR code. It'll take you straight there. And don't forget, we also help the food bank on this channel. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is a website where you can make a virtual donation today.
Okay, welcome back to the professionals on NUFC Matters. We are going to do a fanzine, and all the proceeds are going to go to Dementia Matters. There is the first cover, courtesy of Robert Maltman, our designer. Come at the hour, come at the man, Tonali, of course, on there. I've stuck the link in the chat. We are going to charge £20 for 4 issues. That includes your postage. There'll be 4 issues in the season. The first one's out on the 1st of October. We're only going to print 200 copies. It will be the only print fanzine. There isn't one at the moment, so it'll be the only one. I'm going to try and do a little deal with the back page, so hopefully it'll be on sale in the back page for those of you who are in the Northeast or coming to the Northeast for matches. But it would be great if you could subscribe to it and pay the £20 up front to help us. The good news is, from our perspective, is that we've managed to obtain a sponsor. And it's a big thank you to United Group Travel. They've agreed to cover the printing costs for all 4 issues, which means that all all the magazines are now covered, so it means we'll be able to make as much money as we can for Dementia Matters. Be great to sell all 200, of course. Priced at £3, which I think is quite reasonable for a fanzine. It's going to be full colour, 24 pages. And as I say, we'll hopefully strike a deal with the back page to get it in there. But if you can subscribe, the link is in the chat. I've pinned it to the top. I'll just stick it in again now. There you go. Click on there. Pay the 20 quid up front, and that gets us off to a flying start for Dementia Matters. Okay, back to the questions. Lots of people talking about the fact that Trippier didn't start yesterday, Mitch. And obviously, Tino Livramento was in. It was one of those questions we had last week, you know, when we're trying to second guess what Eddie was going to do. I think me and Stu pretty much hit the team on the head last Sunday with our selection. Yeah, so Tino in, Livramento in, Trippier out. Is that the bell nulling for his time at Newcastle now, do you think? Or do you think maybe there's been a decision made that Tino is the man and Trips will be the cover for right back? And I guess the question as well stands that if Trippier does go, do we need another right back, which is what Bolton Marks asked if Trippier does go?
No, because we've got Emil Kraft, who's a right back. So we don't need another right back, in my opinion. I think we're very well covered at right back. I think it's certainly the way I saw the way that they lifted the Salah Cup together. It just felt like a passing of the baton physically to see Bruno not just wearing the armband but writing the programme notes now. And so for me that suggests that all things seem to point to Trippier moving on. There's a couple of other things I've heard that I won't discuss publicly that would also add to that suggestion. And I think if his time at Newcastle is up, we'll let him go with grace and good thanks for somebody who believed in the project from day one and kept up in amazing fashion even when he was injured and driving the team on from the dressing room with a crutch and a boot. And so, it feels like that to me.
What's your thoughts, Stu? Trippier not selected at right back. He was available. Do you think Tino's made the decision he's up?
I might call Mitch Meatloaf, not for a lookalike, but he just took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's exactly what I would have said. For me, it's important for the future, and it would have affected Tino's confidence if he was replaced by Trippier for yesterday. Although he didn't have a spectacular game, no one can have a spectacular game every week, but he was steady enough, and he will only get better. And he has so much potential. He's got a very good touch. Where they got a bit flustered yesterday, but for me, he is the right back for Newcastle United. And if we're going back into our FFP, whichever way you want to use it, you're in a position where you've got to ask, is paying Trippier 120 grand a week to sit a good move? And there's been clear indications that for whatever personal reasons, a move may suit him. And again, I let go what Mitch said. We've got to thank him for everything he's done for this club since he joined. And he would go with our good grace and wish him all luck for the future. And just as a caveat or an additional note to that, I will mention again, as I've repeated last week, that the Saudi transfer window shuts 2 weeks after the UK one.
Yeah, you do that every time. Darren, good evening. He says, can you thank Mitch and Stu for giving up their time to do this show every week? It's late over in Saudi, but I love watching all of you. Thank you very much, mate. And 908 of you watching, which is very good. 434 of you watching on YouTube, which means there's 400 of you, over 400 of you watching elsewhere. So if you get the time, get yourself onto YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button, and that will do us a big favour. It is free. We do 7 shows a week. Marc Guehi says, here's a less controversial question. Do you think Eddie will throw Tonali in against Forest? The only way he can get match fit is by playing matches. What date does he come back? Because I think he misses the Forest game. Does he not?
No, because I think we play on the Sunday And so I think our game against Forest will have to be on the Wednesday, not the Tuesday. And I think you'll be free and available if it's the Wednesday.
Right, okay. Since we commence on the 26th, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So, but bizarrely, we still don't know when we're playing. It still hasn't been sorted out yet.
Yeah,
so
which is
nobody
ridiculous.
knows. Yeah,
Absolutely ridiculous. But if you can throw them in, I think you will. I do. I think that's it's almost the perfect situation for Eddie to do it. The only disappointment for me is it's an away, and yet another, is it what, 8th consecutive away cup draw?
yeah.
Go for the cold balls. Go for the cold balls. So for me, yeah, why not? Chuck them in. Give him a game as soon as we possibly can. Get him back. Make him feel like he's part of the squad as soon as physically possible, and then we get the best out of him.
All right, Stu's having some technical difficulties, so I'm not sure whether it's his phone or what there, but he's not looking too well. There's no. Some people are saying it is being announced as the 28th. It's not. It hasn't been announced on anywhere that I can see, unless it's been announced by Forest and we just haven't announced it yet. But there is no. No, I'm just looking on Not Forest's site now, and I can't see anything with regards to that fixture. So lots of people saying, yeah, you can play on the 28th. The ban ends the 27th. You can play on the 28th. So yeah, if we play on the Wednesday, that is likely. But the game hasn't been confirmed yet.
We play on the previous Sunday, so we can only play on the Wednesday.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Lots of other questions coming in. Let's try and find something a little bit different. Well, we spoke about it anyway, but Lee Jones said next Saturday, would you start Burningcraft or Kelly? Do you think Guehi will be through the door? We've talked about Guehi, but I guess the question is, would you start Burningcraft together, Mitch, or would you give Kelly a shot at centre half?
Then we've got the left-footed problem, 2 left-footers at centre-back. Would you rather keep... I think because of the time they've played together, I think he'll play Kraft and Burn. Just because they know each other better. An option might be to drop Kelly into left back as well and sort of firm up the back four that way and add a bit more presence in the back four that way too. I think that's... I think you could see more than one change, but I think the centre back pairing will be Kraft and Burn.
What do you reckon, Stu? Do you think you'll go with Kraft and Burn next week, or would you give Kelly that opportunity? He looked good when he came on yesterday.
Well, yes and no. There's a few places in the team that are cemented, and there's still a few open for debate. And although we all want and believe that Hall will be long-term left-back because he has so much potential and is a wonderful talent, the advantage of adding to the squad as we have done over the last few windows is we've got squad depth when everyone's fit. And it gives Eddie Howe the luxury of going horses for courses. Now, we're playing Bournemouth away next week where Kelly's come from. So for me, there could be a big shout saying he'll know the system, he can put them in, he'll have the respect of their players, he'll know their players' weaknesses. And for this particular game, we are playing away from home in a small, compact ground. It may be better playing someone who's more familiar with it and just swapping them out for Hall for this one game. Playing Tottenham at home the week after could be a different kettle of fish, but Kelly's impressed for the minutes that we've seen him. He has done very well. And I wouldn't be against him coming in for one game, and if he proves himself and has a run, then that's what it's all about. You've got to earn the shirt. You know, we can't just say that's the team and you will get the games whenever you want. You've got to play well enough consistently to get it. So if he puts Kelly in next week, then that's the choice he's made from against the team that we're playing. But with it being Southampton yesterday, I think that made a case for Tino, if I'm backing up what I've just said. I think you always want to play against your former clubs. And he's further on in the fitness. He's younger. He played more minutes in the summer than what, in the pre-season than what Kieran Trippier did. So it was, for me, it was an obvious choice. I would keep Tino, but if he puts Kelly in instead of Hall, I wouldn't be surprised or too upset.
Okay, Mark, I will come back to your question. That's a good one that ties in with what somebody else has asked. But I'll go with Darren's next. He says, question for the lads. Do you think the board have let Eddie Howe down in this window? And Barry also says, are you guys concerned we aren't going to get anyone else in? A free transfer centre-back, a Greek reserve goalie and a £10 million diamond in the rough. I hoped for much better in this window. But, yeah, have to let them down, would you say, Mitch? Or,
is the window shut yet?
Exactly. I knew you were going to say that.
Is it shut yet? Can everybody look at the calendar, find the date the window shuts, and then you can wet the bed after that?
Yeah.
Because I'll get on a rant if certain things aren't in place by then. But us sitting here whinging about it right now isn't going to change it. We can't influence it. They're not going to sign it because the dentist in Dubai is upset about it. They're not going to make signings because Kevin in Walker is quite upset that he doesn't have a shiny new player in the squad. It's not going to happen. We can't influence it. And frankly, let's talk about it when the window's closed and have a proper conversation then.
Same answer, I guess, Stu.
Yeah, well, I understand the question, though, because we're all, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve the squad. Everyone wants to improve the squad. So, of course, there's a frustration there, and I understand it. But at the same time, do a knee-jerk reaction and go and sign players for the sake of it, pay over the top and give them long-term contracts and get stuck with them, and they're not good enough. So, am I confident that we'll add 2 players before the window if it closes? Yes, I am extremely confident of that. And will there be players that will benefit and improve the first team? I believe that also. I think they've done the padding of the squad out, and now the hard part starts. You know, it's getting the ones that will improve that starting 11. And we've repeated for many, many weeks, and every Newcastle fan will tell you the 2 positions that are identified where we should be improving to give us a chance. But there's so many reasons why this season is important for us, and there's so many benefits of how this season could go our way. And I said it last week, and we'll probably be saying it next week if we haven't signed 2 top starters. You know, the people in charge of the club making the decisions want this team to improve. We as support Newcastle, no matter who they sign, we've proven that over the last 40 odd years. They need to, for their own jobs, make sure that team's better than it was, make sure that squad's better than it was, and for their own reputations. So let them do the job. Yes, there's frustration. Yes, we want everyone in straight away, but it really is a small window of players that if you want to spend a lot of money on a player, I understand people saying we'll go into Europe, but if you want them to come into the first team straight away, having Premier League experience would be a great help. And that's why I think whoever they sign probably wouldn't be starting until after the international break. But on the basis of that, saying Guehi he's had some minutes in his legs today, Schar getting sent off, that could be something to push that transfer through. But also then you can imagine Parish trying to say, well, I know your predicament now, I want more. And if the minute he asks for more, then walk away. But yeah, we'll spend money. And I'm genuinely, even at this stage, with 12 days of the window left, I'm not concerned that we won't sign players, because I'm sure we will. We just need to get to the 1st of September, then reassess where we are, whether it's been a good window. But for now, it's been underwhelming. You can't deny that. Even me being a positive person could say it hasn't been the best window yet. But that's the key word, yes. Let it finish, and then we can judge it then. It's just like yesterday we won 1-0 against a team that we should beat 5-0. But let's judge, as you said at the start of the show, Steve, let's judge how important that result is at the end of the season. We need to do the same with the transfer window.
Okay. VAR has come into the comments for the first time this season. Does the changes in VAR protocol help the top 6? Yesterday, both players were equal in coming together, yet VAR didn't recommend a red card for Diaz. Obviously, talking about the Diaz situation again. Marc Guehi says, why are they waiting until after the international break to implement the semi-automated offsides? Seems bizarre when it could have been in from the start of the season.
That's the one that's got me most puzzled. What the hell is all that about? What have you spent the entire summer doing to then say, oh, well, we need a little bit more time? We need to get that in. To me, it's a nonsense. It's embarrassing. And also, another situation where, say somebody has a goal chalked off for offside by VAR, and it turns out the automated VAR might not have given it. And that stops them from getting a European place. Or it sees them relegated. Is that another situation where they're leaving themselves open for a lawyer to come and knock on the door? To me, it's a nonsense to bring new systems in, but we're going to do it after the international break. We need another couple of months. Well, I'm sorry, then you leave it till next season. It's a joke. That's a joke. Further shows how absolutely terribly ran everything to do with our officials is. And it's embarrassing.
I'm on mute here. Somebody was
I understood what you asked.
What's your thoughts?
It's bizarre how it can open up to, as Rich just said there, it can open up to legal cases later in the season. The rules should be implemented at the start of the season. These are the rules. This is what we're going with, and that will be all the way through. However, when they do change it after the international break, it's not just for Newcastle, it's for the other 19 clubs as well. So again, if that's what it is, it shows the incompetence of the Premier League. But then we'll all be judged on it, and the quicker it comes in, the better. And then there may be mitigating reasons why they haven't got it ready for the start of the season. I can't think of one, but there may well be one. But I think sitting on here as a supporter of Newcastle United, it didn't affect us yesterday because we were never going to get a goal disallowed for offside because we never had shots, did we? So the key thing is when it's done, it works right, and long term it'll benefit the game. So if we have to wait another couple of games to get it due to the incompetence of those making the decisions, then so be it. But it will benefit us all long term.
Okay, some people saying and waiting for equipment in the chat. They're waiting for an equipment because they're not avoiding it a bit earlier. It's just strange. But yeah, Sam says waiting for the international break gives time for the cartel to be positioned in the top 6, which is a dodgy upset of VAR. It's a good point as well, Sam, to be honest. A question for the lads from Gary says, knowing we probably need someone extra on the right wing, who would be your first choice? And I did see somebody asking, Stephen Kennedy asking how Minty did. From what I can see on the match of the day highlights, he did very well. He got concussed and he did set up Brighton's first goal. But he looked good. And he was certainly the man of the match for Brighton pre-match. But yeah, right wing, Mitch. Anybody springing to mind who you'd like to see in that you know?
For me, a smart move would be Cesare, the Italian. He's been told he's not wanted by Juventus. Yes, he doesn't fit the profile necessarily because he's a little older. But I don't think he would cost a bloody fortune. And I think he'd drop into our system really nicely.
Anyone springing to mind for you, Stu?
Well, I disagree with Cesare. I don't think his attitude's right. I don't think his work ethic's right. I don't think his injury record's right. But they say each to their own. I think realistically, I mentioned Mbeumo from Brentford. I think he's a realistic target. Who would I like? That's going on the theme I mentioned on the previous question, Premier League ready, with pace on the right wing, a willing runner, ready to chase back and is capable of scoring goals. And we've shown we've got 60 million to spend. Stick it in Jared Bowen. Offer West Ham, 60, 70 million. Yes, age-wise, he's not the right profile, but he ticks every other box for me. Whether we say it, do I think we'll sign him? No. But I think with Mbeumo for Brentford being 2 or 3 years younger, I wouldn't be disappointed if we got Elanga from Nottingham Forest either. You know, he was rejected from Man United or discarded by Man United. He has a point to prove, and either of those three would I'd be more than happy with. But whoever we're saying, I believe it'll be because Eddie Howe and Paul Mitchell agreed that's going to benefit us. And honestly, I'm not concerned. I'm happy with whichever decision to take.
Lee Jones, good question. He says, with the talk of once-in-a-lifetime cheque being signed for St James's Park, would the lads redevelop or build a new stadium in Leazes Park? Gone very quiet on this, but that was an article that was running the Chronicle this week, so worth talking about it again and revisiting it again. What was your views on what was said this week?
For me, everybody knows my answer. New ground in Leazes Park, simple as that.
Yeah.
Has been for a long time for me. I know my attitude's been shaped differently for lots of different reasons. I could write a feasibility study for them because it's really already been written. In fact, there's a copy of a study from a company called Matthews Southwest. If you don't know who they are, look them up. Sitting in my emails still from something like 2013, which is effectively the same feasibility study. It's also sat alongside the plans that they had for Durham County Cricket Ground before the ECB pulled the rug from underneath them. All very interesting, and for me, the way to go with a new football ground.
Stu?
Yeah, I've banged that drum for a long time, for a few years now, since October the 7th, 2021 become reality. And I know both myself and Mitch have used the phrase a shiny new stadium, bigger and better than anything that's ever been, but it's not just for us supporters, it's for the region. And that one new stadium with all the assets it brings, or the facets it brings, would create hundreds of jobs, and not just at the stadium, but the knock-on effects, like with hotels, with maybe new bars, with infrastructure. There's so much benefit from it. But also, when we're talking about ticking boxes, we have to understand that corporate is a way forward. Us traditionalists don't like it. We don't like the prawn sandwich brigade, but it's an evil necessity to be able to compete without expecting the PIF to be benefactors. I'm quite certain they'll fund us for as long as it takes, but at some stage they'll want to see a return on the money. They're not known for throwing good money after bad. In a new stadium, I've tried to do the figures there when Mitch was speaking. Let's say they spent, I don't know, 1 billion, just a figure. Sounded like mini me there, didn't I? 1 billion. But let's just say they agree to spend 1 billion on it. How long does it take? Because it's all about ROI, return on investment. So if we've got 70,000, you're going to have, I would say, at least 10,000 of those be corporate in the centre circle area where the Platinum Club and that is now. And they can then charge them these £300, £400, £500 a games and give them all the quail eggs and everything else. If that's what people want, businesses can write it off for tax purposes. There's so much benefit from it, and we will be a successful Newcastle United. They can then, with an expanded airport, start flying in these planes from Saudi, and they can make day trips, and it doesn't affect the 40,000 Newcastle fans that want to go, because then you're up to 50,000 there, plus the 10,000 that want to go still. Then you've got away fans. I think 70,000, if it averages out at, say, £50 a ticket, some will be cheaper, the kids will be cheaper, some at the very top where you're not getting the best view, where you need binoculars. But let's say it averages out £50 a ticket for 60,000. And I'm sure it'll be higher than that, but let's use 50 as an average. We're now, someone's got a calculator there. Is that how much is that per game? And then you add on the 10,000 of the corporates. It'll start making revenue where they could actually get that money back within 10 years or even 12 years to give it an 8% return on investment, because that's how they look at it. And an 8% return on investment in today's business world is very, very good. And it's nigh on guaranteed with Newcastle United because of the passion of the fan base, because of the clamour to support the team, and because people want to get there. And it allows everyone, and I know we've mentioned this previous shows, but it allows people to sit with who they want to sit. Now people will just take a seat wherever they want, or wherever they can, sorry, and they're grateful for it. But to get that atmosphere even better than what it is, you can then start buying season tickets collectively with your friends, and it'll make the stadium even more vocal. For me, as long as it's right next to St. James, which is the Leazes Park site that we've seen so many different profiles about, it makes sense. It's only an extra 2-minute walk. It's still city centre. It still had the Gallagher end. It could still have the Leazes end, and it'll have so much benefit for the club commercially, for the region, the city. To me, it's a no-brainer, and I don't know why they're holding back, because there's so many things that have changed recently, such as the Leazes Park losing certain privileges and stuff like that. I think a lot of it's been set up to announce a new stadium, and when it does, if you've seen, I think you shared it, Steve, didn't you? Or was it Steve Hasty? The 12 stadiums they plan to build for the World Cup in 2034. Imagine one of those is our home ground, that sort of style. It will be the beacon of the North. Never mind asking the government to pay for the Wembley of the North. This will be the stadium of the North. It'll be the best stadium in Britain, possibly one of the best in Europe, and it'll be ours. We should all be behind it, because then no one will have anything to complain about. And if people are that traditionalist, pick up the pitch, the grass, and move it. But that grass gets replaced, the turf gets replaced every year, sometimes twice a year. It makes no difference. What we want is a winning team, and to get a winning team, we need to generate more money. We can't have our cake and eat it. We can't keep complaining, no, they can spend this, we can't. If we then say, but we don't want to grow, we have to accept it. You've got to cut your losses sometimes, or be willing to compromise. And if the compromise is we have the best stadium in the country, and it's a 70,000, let's say a 70,000 seat stadium, which we know we would fill, and it'll bring us European nights every year, I can't see why people would be against it.
Yeah, it's a good idea, I think, moving forward. And, people without season tickets are desperate for it, and there's plenty want to get in. 2-0 City. Kovacic has got the second goal. Good strike, poor goalkeeping, but 2-0 to Man City, as you were. Good start for everybody at the top end of the table, which includes Newcastle. They're going to be there or thereabouts, I'm convinced, this season. So it was very important to get off to a good start. Darren, good evening. He says, Steve, did the lads see the War Flags tribute to Amanda and Maydad? She wrote on her Instagram page that she'd read all the messages, saw the flag, and it made her cry. Quite an emotional outpouring from Amanda yesterday. I guess we still hope she gets a chance to come up and say goodbye to the fans properly. But nice touch by War Flags, Mitch.
Absolutely, and the kind of relationship that she built with groups like War Flags, it was only natural that they were going to do a tribute of some description, and what a very nice and very fitting one it was indeed.
Yeah, good to see them having a little bit of respect from the fans, and hopefully some from the club at some point, Stu.
Yeah, that's the key thing. The fans should always be held in great esteem, and she deserves everything. She's given us with her persistence, we've been able to dream, and that's what's probably causing the friction in certain sections of the fan base. We want it quicker because we know it's coming, and the key word is patience, I understand, but without Amanda's persistence and belief in our club, in us as people, then where would we be? Because I can guarantee the season before that happened, that going into that 21-22 season, I don't think there was many fans thought we would stay up. And the way we started under Steve Bruce, it didn't look like we were going to go anywhere. We'd be lucky to get a win before Christmas, because we didn't have a win by the time he lost his job. So for Amanda Staveley, forever she'll be in our hearts, and rightly so. And I would love the club to be able to do something for her, but we don't know what goes on internally, politically wise. But the most important people of this club, as they quite often try to remind us, is the fans. And same with Nick DeMarco, the efforts that were made to allow us to believe, to dream again, then they'll always be welcome.
Paul Davidson asking if there's a fantasy league. There is. Julie set it up, mate. If you go to our Facebook page or group, I think it was, she posted all the details in there. I don't have them to hand, and I don't think Julie's in the chat tonight on this Sunday evening, but she is.
Steve, on that note, you're clever with these computers. I can forward you the code that you need to put in if you can put it onto the chat, because I wouldn't know how to do that.
Paul, just tune in on another night, because I don't think I'll be able to. I don't think I'll be able to transfer that over. If you go to the Facebook group, mate, it's the easiest way to do it, Paul. All the details are on there. And if Jules is in the chat, if she can stick it up there, that would be great. But I'm not participating. I've got no time to be messing on this year. I did it last year. I'm not doing it again this year. But Jules, as I said, I left it to her. She put it up on the Facebook group. You'll be able to find it. NUFC Matters, that's the best thing to do. Other little bit of news this week. James Marwood potentially coming to Newcastle. Began his playing career at Newcastle. He reached the reserves before he was released in 2009. Went on to play for various clubs, including Gateshead, before embarking on a coaching career. It's yet to be announced who will lead the under-18s this season, but amid speculation that existing under-18 assistant Chris Moore is to step up into that role as well. But yeah, haven't acted quickly on these rules, Mitch, have they? There's been a few changes behind the scenes in first team level, but also at the lower levels as well.
Yeah, I think absolutely we needed, though, a root and branch review at all levels, didn't we? We needed somebody to dig in and say, we needed to clear out, we needed to reorganise, and I think, again, once the transfer window's closed, I think that's then when you'll see Paul Mitchell doing another part of his role, trying to get the ducks in a row at all levels so we can act like a cohesive unit within the playing, different levels of the playing staff.
Yeah, it seems to have taken a bit of time for me, Stu, to get all these people in, place. And I guess they don't want to rush it. Thanks, Mozart, for sticking that in. There you go.
Yeah, that's the code there, because it was Alan McKenzie that sent it to me during the week, so thank you for that, Alan. Now, regarding the changes in the backroom stuff, and I don't know what people want. As I said, sometimes I just think people are not happy unless they've got something to complain about. I'd rather they take the time and get the decision right than act in haste and just throw someone in that doesn't fit, because it's not just about fitting in that role. They have to fit into the club as a whole. And it's important they've got to have the same methodology as what Eddie Howe has, because it's Paul Mitchell said it himself in his interview, it's imperative that every single team through the ranks play in the same way. So the transition from youth to the reserves to the first team, they know the role. And if you're put in that position, you know what's expected of you straight away. So you've got to get like-minded people to get the roles. And if they've taken the time and they've appointed someone, then our job is just to trust they've made the right decision. And I'm sure they have.
Yeah, I would agree as well. But lots of comments have come in tonight about the match yesterday. We're starting with the match. Let's finish with the match. Overall, Mitch, where do you think Newcastle United's performance puts us, going into the start of that season? I mean, it's 3 points in the bag, but it's could do better. Would you say is that where we're at with that first game?
And I think the attitude we take from here is the one we sensibly took in the season we escaped relegation, and that we kept taking when we qualified for the Champions League. The most important match is the next one. Game by game, we get the results, how we get them, and look at it that way. That match isn't going to define my season, but it was great to get it off to a good start. We'll take the positives out of it about the togetherness and the fact that we fought like devils to get those 3 points. Yes, there's certainly better performances to come. In fact, I think we'll probably find we'll have better performances and occasionally not win a game with a better performance. So, it's about getting the 3 points, come hook or by crook. Everybody was banging on about Man United on Friday night. bing bang average, and then by the time they'd managed to squeak a win against Fulham, some of the usual suspects in the media were chiming that they were back and they're in the race. So it's one game, for God's sakes. You know, and so we've got to take the same attitude, one game at a time, pick the wins up as we can. We'll play better and probably not get the results on occasion. But more importantly, we found a way to win. And I think last season that was missing. And it's great to see that back.
Stu?
Bang on the money, Dr. Neil, bang on the money. We're in a position where we didn't play well. The footballing gods, as they often do, conspire against Newcastle United, and we walked away, well, probably crawled away by the time they finished the shift to put in with 3 points. And when that sending off is early in the game, would anyone not have accepted a 1-0 win? You know, we get through 3 points, we get a clean sheet, and we haven't lost any ground, because that was a must-win game in our pursuit for the higher echelons of the league, dare I say Champions League. And the fact that we managed to get the job done, and it wasn't by hook or by crook, it was by hard work and endeavour, and it showed to me a different side of Newcastle United for this season, and we didn't revert to type where Eddie Howe sometimes gets accused of playing his favourites. You know, did we play Miggy because he smiles? No, we played Murphy because he's better in form, and that's the decisions that have to be made. And as long as the squad gets improved, those hard decisions he has to make is why he's on a huge salary. But with the huge salary comes huge pressure, and I think I'm in fear of repeating myself, but I'm so relaxed about the position this club's been. Even last year we finished 7th. It should have been 6th, but we finished 7th with all those injuries, freak injuries, with the Tonali thing, and we just missed out on European football. Just, you know, and look at that. How many times in the last 40 years have we finished 7th or above? And it's single digits. So we're only going to get better. We will only improve. So even with the squad as it is, I expect us to improve. But we'll add to the squad. And then the next year, that's the key, just to keep improving and keep getting the quality. Those 3 points yesterday, will imagine you're one of those players and you walk off that pitch. The togetherness, they would have loved that photograph that they shared, because they know they earned it. And they've had other photographs where let's look at Sheffield United last season, 13-1 on aggregate, was it? You know, they get the photograph because they've got the win. But those are games that the rollover. They deserved that yesterday for the know-how that they put together and the togetherness that they showed. And this makes a difference. I think this is a steelier version of Newcastle United, and they'll add the right ingredients to make the perfect cake. And that cake will have the Champions League anthem playing when you light the candle at the end of the season.
Love it. Great show. You're going to get an extra dose again of Mitch and Stu, because Jolie's here. Jolie's there. Start again this Wednesday. We'll have a summer break for that, just to give the lads a bit of a rest. So the lads will be back Wednesday night. I'm back with the Fans Forum tomorrow. Thanks to everybody tonight who has took a subscription out on the fanzine. Catherine Moore, Anthony Harrison, William King, Craig Nesbitt, all of you. Thank you very much for that. To go with everybody else who has already joined in. Andrew Gwynn, Alan Little, Mick Terry, Duncan Anderson, Mark Wilkinson. There's a few more as well. Craig Lee, I think, is in the chat as well tonight. He's done it. So great to see that everyone's got behind it. And as I say, we're going to go for 200 and try and raise some decent money for Dementia Madness throughout the season, and give you a little bit of toilet reading. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. I know. 1,000 people tuned in tonight again. Thank you very much. 450 watching on YouTube. The rest of you watching elsewhere. Jump onto YouTube tonight. Search NUFC Madness. Hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. See you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock with the Fans Forum. Take care, lads.
Take care, lads. See everyone.